Welcome to another episode of Rich Dad StockCast, the podcast for people that are serious about improving their financial education. I'm your host, Denney, and today we're tackling a topic that can make or break your financial future: why most people panic and lose money in the stock market. Now, if you've ever felt nervous during a market crash, if you've ever sold an investment out of fear, or if you've worried about what's coming next, right? This episode is for you. Before we dive in, we want to give you something special to take control of your financial future. Go to stockcastbonus.com right now to get free tools and resources that will help you invest smarter, even in uncertain markets. That's stockcastbonus.com. Grab your free bonus now. Now, let's get into it. Joining me today is Rich Dad expert Andy Tanner. Andy is one of the best educators I know when it comes to stock investing and financial intelligence. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Del. Excited to hop in. This is, you always choose great topics. And so we appreciate the listeners that make comments, because that's often where we'll draw those from. So you've chosen a good one today.
That's exactly it, listeners. We love your feedback. So drop us a comment. If there's something that you want to hear us talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments wherever you're listening to this podcast. Now, Andy, let's start with this. Why do most people panic and lose money when the market dips? Is it just fear, or is there something deeper going on?
Well, it's certainly emotion. One of my favorite people to study on this is the greatest investor of all time, Warren Buffett. No one's close. He's just done tremendous things, and he had a mentor, excuse me, named Benjamin Graham, who taught him at Columbia University. He was a teacher there. In fact, that's why Buffett chose Columbia. He wanted to take a class from Benjamin Graham. He had learned about him before school and said, I want to enroll in Columbia and go there. And he has a book called The Intelligent Investor. And you'd think that it'd be about gathering intel and the growth. And there is a little value formula in there that he gives for an example. But that's really a book on temperament. There's a saying that when emotions go up, your intelligence goes down. And Buffett will always say, if you've got a high IQ, sell 20 IQ points, because you won't need them to invest. Sell 20 IQ points and just get your temperament right. And I think that's one of the biggest things as I've studied him, that his brilliance is unquestioned. He is genius for sure, but often his brilliance overshadows the fact that his temperament has been a big part of that 1-2 punch. Education, but temperament is how you behave. Temperament is how you talk to other people. Temperament is about your communication. They say, oh, this person has a temper. Well, that comes from the word temperament. And so having a great temperament is something I've had to work on, because I'm a pretty emotional guy. And so I've had to work on that, being more emotionally resilient over the years, and fight that part of my personality that's affective, so I can be effective. So yeah, people, if they sell a stock because they're looking at a price, they're going to lose money, and they shouldn't invest. If you're going to sell things because a price is moving, or buy things because a price is moving, you're almost totally going to, it's like Bitcoin. If you're going to buy a Bitcoin, understand the Bitcoin, but don't buy it because the price is moving, or sell it because the price is moving. Understand the underlying asset. So the way Buffett does it is he says, look, I'm going to buy a business, and I'm going to buy that business or sell that business based on how the business is doing without looking at the stock price, because prices are detached from value, often both ways. Sometimes they're what we call overvalued, sometimes they're what we call undervalued. And if you sell when a price drops as your sole reason for selling, of course you're going to lose money. You're selling at a low price. The irony is, and COVID was a great example of this, I was more aggressive in my buying during COVID than any other time in my investing life, because it was on sale. So the irony isn't just that people are losing money by panicking, it's that they're missing the sale, where these stocks are so undervalued or undervalued. They're so undervalued. You can buy things for pennies on the dollar for what they should have been. And so it's quite the opposite, that when stocks go down, you should be buying. To me, that makes a lot of sense, right? If you're a consumer and you can't wait for Black Friday, you got money in your wallet, you just can't wait to get rid of it because the prices are going down. Well, put on your investing hat. Okay, you got money in your pocket. When do you want to buy the assets? Well, when they go down. So that panic is welcome. I hope everyone panics like crazy because the prices plummet while the value of the company remains. And if the value of the company remains when the prices plummet, you're a buyer, not a seller. So temperament's a huge thing.
Well, I want to dig into temperament because it is a huge thing. And, fear and greed, it plays into that, right? For me, I think we both have a similar background of basketball. I love basketball. My best games were when I played angry, get that chip on my shoulder, put me in, coach, I'm ready to go. But that doesn't work so well when it comes to the stock market and keeping a level head. How do you have a good temperament when it comes to investing? How do you get
Well,
away from the fear and the greed?
Buffett's competitive. I mean, competitiveness and anger, there's no question, when old Kobe gets that underbite, underbite Kobe gets,
Yeah,
or
that's when the black mamba's coming out.
yeah, and Jordan gets that tongue wagging out, you're in trouble. But if you're Rod Artest, or excuse me, Meta World Peace, and you go into the stands and have a malice of the palace, you lost control of that temperament. If you're John Starks and you headbutt Reggie Miller and you get ejected, well, that temperament went too far, didn't it? So if you start, if you're Akeem Olajuwon, you start throwing punches at Bully Pulse, now you've got in his head. So that anger there's two types of anger. There's anger where you're just angry and you're a victim and the whole world's against you, and oh, no one's fair to me and I'm angry at the world. Or there's anger as fuel. And that's what's really helped me, is when my anger has fueled me and become an energy source to, go win. But you have to have a lane, I think, of temperament that is healthy. So you can be too happy too. You can be a little bit too jolly. Me, I get teary-eyed way too easy. So I've had to knock that stuff off. I'm watching the Olympics and some dude from some Scandinavian company wins the curling competition, the Winter Olympics, and he's down on the podium with an anthem I've never heard, and I'm Niagara Falls. Like, well, great, So temperament is a big deal. So how do you deal with that? Well, a lot of it is make a plan and then do your plan, up, down, or sideways. If you make a plan when you're level headed, it's like my sons. I would sit them down and I would forecast moments in their life where their emotions might get the best of them. And so while we're calm, we'd forecast that. For example, when they were probably, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years old, I'd say, someday you guys are going to be driving around in a car with your buddies when you get your license here in a few years, and someone's going to pull out a bottle and you're going to have a decision to make. So let's talk about what you want to do in that moment, because there'll be peer pressure and there'll be other things, or maybe you'll be with a young lady and you're holding hands and it's kind of fun, and next thing you know, you might want to do a little more and hold hands. Well, what's at stake? What do you want to do? How do you want to bridle your passions, as they often say, right? Nothing wrong with being passionate, but the bridle of the horse keeps the horse moving the way it needs to move so it can win, right? So you can work with the horse. Well, you can work with your emotions when you bridle them. So if you can have a plan and say, look, if the market has a 50% retracement, what's my plan? And we have a class, I'll give it a plug. It's not a beginner's class, so most people listening can't take it because you have to have prerequisites to take it. But we have a class called ARMOR, which is Advanced Risk Management and Opportunity Readiness. And all the ARMOR class is it's how to have a plan for catastrophe. Is how am I going to make money if the market has a big 30% drop or 50% drop? Those one every 10-year types of things. Are you prepared for those? My brother is a homicide detective, and he he spent a lot of years as a beat, officer. And I just remember vividly watching on the television one time is they had an officer shooting. There was a sniper out trying to kill these officers. So he's roaming around the neighborhood shooting at police officers. And I see my brother on TV with his AR-15 patrolling by foot. And I just thought, man, how do you deal with that? And he says, we train for it. We have a plan. We train for it. We keep our cool because we've trained for it. And you'll often hear those guys, when they're in a shootout, well, the training just kicked in. That's temperament control. The training just kicked in. Well, as an investor, if I practiced in my paper trade account, have I really gone through a scenario, a stress test, to where I know how I'm going to react before, so I don't lose my mind, sell and lose money? Because if there's a huge sell-off in the market and you see your net worth shrinking, that's where cash flow is key. I always use this analogy. I hope people don't mind its repetitiveness, but it's a 6-year-old can understand that a goose that lays a golden egg is worth more than a golden egg. And if you have a goose and the price of the goose falls because people are panicking, they want cash, so they're selling their geese. They're panicking. They're selling their geese. But if I look at my goose and I say he's healthy, he's laying golden eggs. The price is falling on my balance sheet. I mean, if I went to sell him today, I could, I wouldn't get much for him. And people are like, well, maybe I better sell him now before it goes further. But wait. He's laying eggs. He's laying eggs. So when my real estate Zillow stuff comes in on the houses, the single family home stuff we have, I get these things from Zillow saying, oh, it went down 5,000, or went up 6,000, or went down 8,000. I don't think I just lost $5,000 on the house or whatever it is, right? It went down 1%. It's not a big deal. But if the rent is coming in and the cash flow is coming in, that's how I live my life. That's how we go to the grocery store, right? Is through the passive income. Same with the syndications, right? So all that stuff, if you have cash flow, I think it really helps. I think it's harder with things like gold and Bitcoin. Because if you see your Bitcoin going from 100 grand to 80, let's say, well, it's not producing cash. So do you sell or not? It makes it a little tougher. But with real estate and stocks, if I see a stock go down and I have written covered calls on it and I have a dividend coming in, it's cash flowing. It's a golden goose that's producing cash. And I don't need to worry about stock prices, whether they're manipulated or not. I don't care. If I get my cash flow coming in, great. Because all markets are manipulated. They all are, by one way or other, by the Fed or what have you. So cash flow really helps with temperament to be able to say, well, yeah, the price of my golden goose is down today, but it's producing eggs. And as long as it's producing eggs, who cares what the price is? It's the golden eggs it produces that allows for someone to get out of the rat race.
There we go. I love it. We can't have a StockCast without a golden goose analogy.
Can't have it. Yeah. No rants today. No rants today. I must be wanting to have a better temperament.
There you go. Well, let's go to break. We just exposed the biggest reasons why most people panic and lose money in the market. But now let's talk solutions. When we come back, Andy's going to break down how smart investors win in any market, whether the economy is booming, whether it's crashing, or it's stuck in uncertainty. And don't forget, if you want to start investing smarter today, go to stockcastbonus.com. Grab your free resources right now. We've put together some powerful tools to help you make better financial moves. That's stockcastbonus.com. Check it out. Stick around. We'll be right back.
So far, it's been great. I needed a source where I could really enrich my education through stocks. I didn't really have an avenue for it, and it's helped me a lot. The simplicity has really gotten me on the track to where I enjoy the learning as well as it's really solidifying in my mind. And like, they're not just trying to sell you something, they really care about the people that are in the course, and they really do care about you and your personal goals, and what you want to do is to help you and your family and whatever your goals are in life through that. So it's really been great.
Welcome back to Rich Dad StockCast. I'm your host, Denney, and today we're breaking down why most people panic and lose money in the market. But now it's time for the good part, how you can win in any market. Now, before we jump in, One more reminder, go to stockcastbonus.com for free investing resources that will help you take control of your financial future. Now, let's talk about the smart investor's mindset, thinking long term. How do wealthy investors stay calm and strategic when the market drops?
Well, we alluded to it a little bit in the previous segment on having a plan and having training. The reason I developed that armor class was just that. Right now, we're in an expanding bubble. If you look at, for example, the Shiller PE index and how high that is relative to earnings, we're paying so much for equities that for the in relation to the cash flow they produce, so we're just paying a lot for them. I look at little things like delinquencies on auto loans. People are struggling to make their payments now, so you're starting to see little signs, little things that can put cracks in things. So you get prepared and you have a plan for this. Think of it this way. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Unfair Advantage. And I really love the title of that book.
I do too.
The Power of Financial Education, Unfair Advantage. And he was very kind and had some of his team write a little in the book. And what I wrote was, in a nutshell, amateur investors seek to make money with capital gain. They're trying to buy something low and sell it high, where more professional investors will look at cash flow and they'll invest for cash flow. Warren Buffett, in his 2020 letter, I think it was, said there is no metric, of the numbers, operational earnings, money coming in is the most important number in a business. Are you earning money with what you're doing? It's the most important number. It's not the value of the business going up and down. It's what service are you offering? So cash flow. The other thing I said in that book is there's also a difference between how they manage risk. Amateurs tend to get in 401ks where they diversify, which doesn't help you against systemic. It actually increases systemic risk. And professionals tend to use contracts and hedge in insurance is what it would be, insurance. So think about your temperament this way if you're insured. If your house was on fire right now, you're going to have your blood pressure is going to rise. No question. Oh my gosh, I'm going to call the fire department. I'm going to say, hey, my house is on fire. This is going to be a hassle here to have to rebuild my house. But if you're insured, it's less temperament problem than if you're not insured. In other words, if you're watching your house burn, you might lose some personal artifacts. But if you're insured, it's less panic than if you're not. And if you're not insured and you're watching that thing burn down, that's a whole new level of terror, right? Whole new level. So what's more likely to happen in the next 10 years for your house to burn down or for your 401k to burn down? Hey, houses burned down, California, boy, what a tragedy. I mean, it's horrible, right? And yet most of us will never have that happen to us. Most of us will never experience what they did. But we still have insurance. But almost nobody has insurance on a 401k, and almost everybody will feel that heat. If a market crashes, everyone's 401k. Think about that for a minute. How could you have a nationwide fire? That'd be really hard to pull off, to have every house on fire. But to have every 401k on fire, you just need a drop in the market. So the systemic risk to 401ks and those diversified investments is massive. If you know how to insure and know how to hedge, well, that really can help with your temperament because you're going to panic less, knowing that, this asset's going down, but the insurance is going up, right? They work together. So having a good plan, understanding how to protect investments, having a financial education is a huge thing. People don't drown because they can't swim maybe so much as they drown because they panic. I've heard that. I imagine not knowing how to swim would contribute too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an education, you'll panic less and it'll flip. You'll look to buy and you'll have greed. Warren Buffett said it very succinctly. He said, quote, "I will tell you how to become rich, close the doors. Be greedy when people are fearful and be fearful when people are greedy. Have the opposite temperament of the market, and you'll be fine." So those are some things you can do, is look around when everyone is panicking. Are you the guy that can keep his head or her head? Can you buy when other people are selling? That takes practice and planning and study and having a good plan to trade. So that's what I would say. The biggest thing you can do is study and have a plan. And if you have a plan, when an emergency strikes, you can keep your head. But in almost every first aid class, the number one rule is when you come upon an emergency is keep your cool, don't panic. Have training and let your training do what it tells you to do.
Now, speaking of training, there's so much information out there. How do you get trained? How do you create a system? Systems are so important when it comes to investing, whether it's investing, whether it's basketball, whatever, building a business. Systems are key. If I were new in the stock market, what's a system I could adopt? What's a simple strategy that I can do so my temperament is even kill?
Well, on my team, one of the gifts Robert gave me is, what I do on my team is we study. So, for example, right now, me, Noah, Corey, we have a book that we're going through right now. It's not one I'm going to share because it's about that thick and it's arduous. But we're always trying to learn more. So part of that is who you hang out with. And if you have a team, you want to study the things that you feel will help you as your team. And so that's one of the things I really have to credit Robert for is, what did the author say? How to really get with a group of people and try to learn how to learn. And so study is a huge part of it because it's who you hang out with. And so, get great mentors, get great teachers, hang out with people it's not hard for me to hang out with people smarter than I am. Case in point, right? I'm always the dumbest guy in the room, it seems, but that's a good thing because then I can learn some stuff. So who you hang out with is really, really important. And I want to hang out with people that have even temperaments. I want to have people that keep their heads. I want to hang out with people that are, rational and that really think things through. And that helps me with my poor temperament and helps me raise my game because my temperament is, always something I'm working on for sure. So I don't sell in panic when I should be buying.
Yeah, I wonder, is Warren Buffett just a Zen-like person? Like through all these years, is he pretty Zen?
I don't know. I mean, it's on the one hand, you say, well, what problems does he have? He's got $1 zillion he's sitting on, but he's had years where he's lost 48% of Berkshire Hathaway's value. He had 1 year where half the money was gone. Wow. And that's he's got a lot of people that trust him. So I don't know. I don't know Warren personally. I've studied him from afar. I'll be sad when he passes because he's getting up there. We're not going to have those gems forever, So I try to hang on every word he says while he's still with us because he's in his 90s. And, his business partner made it to 99. And so hopefully Buffett can hit that century mark and keep teaching us.
I sure hope so. I mean, he has enough money to invest in his health, so hopefully he keeps going.
He doesn't. He drinks Coke and goes to McDonald's.
I know, right? Maybe that is the secret. Instead of these cold plunges, we just start drinking cherry Coke like Warren Buffett.
I don't know.
Now, we're getting close to time here, but I want to ask one more question. A lot of people, they feel paralyzed when it comes to investing. How can they start building confidence and start taking action? I think that's the key. How can people start taking action?
Well, I'll plug our site. We designed StockCastBonus.com as a place to get started. It's for a place to say, okay, I enjoy listening to podcasts, but it didn't put an asset in my pocket today, right? I enjoy listening to, reading a book, but it didn't put an asset in my pocket. And so to give people some actionable stuff, start with learning how your financial statement works. When I teach, there's a fancy name for this. It's called fundamental analysis. And the best way to learn it is to buy the cash flow game. I'm always plugging that for sure. Play the cash flow game and you can learn that. That's a great simulation, but that will simulate putting assets in your pocket. So that's a great way to start. But really start with your own financial statement. When we teach fundamental analysis, you can analyze the financial statement of a country, of a church, of a school, of a nonprofit, of a city, of a company, and also your own. But the most important financial statement you'll ever study is yours. No matter how the world burns around you, your financial statement is the one you will live on. So if a person wants to start, I think that's the blessing of Rich Dad, Poor Dad in that book, is it made people aware of what a financial statement and a cash flow pattern in that statement looks like. To say, there's patterns of watching where the cash flows and where it comes from and how it works. And I can see what a poor person financial statement looks like and what a rich person financial statement looks like. I think that's part of the brilliance of that book, of many things we could cite. But start by learning financial statements. And once you know what one is, drop by stockcastbonus.com and learn a little more about those 6 numbers and keep moving forward. So that's it. Learn financial statements as a beginning, and then learn how to manipulate yours, position yourself to do better than you did yesterday.
There we go. I love it. Well,
That's
Andy,
it.
We're out of time. That's a wrap for today's episode of Rich Dad StockCast. Fear and panic causes most people to lose money in the market, but if you understand how investing really works, you can win in any market condition. And a huge thank you to Andy Tanner for breaking this all down for us. If you take nothing else from this episode, just remember this: the key to winning is to stay educated, stay invested, stay in control of your emotions. Now, before you go, make sure you go to stockcastbonus.com. We've put together some powerful tools and resources to help you to stay ahead. And if you've got value from today's episode, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share this with a friend, someone who needs to hear it. And thanks for tuning in to Rich Dad StockCast. I'm Denney, and we'll see you on the next episode. Stay smart, stay invested, and take control of your financial future.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.